Hello friends, welcome to this channel, and in this session we are going to discuss about the fundamental concepts of IEC 61850. We have started with this session on bus bar protection, but due to some issue I am not going to continue this bus bar session presently. I will get back to the bus bar session after the completion of this 61850 sessions. And in this session, basically, I am going to discuss in details the basic concepts of 61850. What are the various cases in which we have to apply 61850 and why we use 61850 in modern SCADA system? What is the meaning of GOOS? What is publisher, subscriber, or horizontal communication? What is a client server communication? Then we will discuss in details about the 61850 engineering. We will discuss briefly about 61850-9-2. So without wasting any time, let us start with our today's session. And before the starting of this session, kindly note that the slides are prepared from the open source materials available on Google, and I will try to cover the concepts of 61850 in probably 3 sessions. And in if you cover all these 3 sessions, then most probably you will understand some of the basic concepts of 61850, how the 61850 engineerings are done, and you can implement these concepts at your organizations also. So now, without wasting any time, let us start with today's session. So this is basically a general view of substation, and you all know about the substation, that in a substation there are some primary circuits like your transmission lines, which are terminated inside your substations through lightning arresters, CVT, wave traps, then isolators, etc. Then you will have some circuit breakers, protective relays, transformers, then the battery for the DC voltage for the tripping coils and closing coils, etc. So this is a basic substation overview. In fact, in this first session, I will discuss only about the concepts related to the build-up of 61850 protocol understanding. So first of all, what is written inside the 61850 standard in substation automation? The main purpose of this standard is to achieve interoperability among different vendors. So the first thing, the 61850 standard, it says that the standard says that it should support interoperability of IDs from different manufacturers, and the interchangeability is not in the scope of 61850, only interoperability. And I will discuss about the meaning and the scope of interoperability in the coming slides. So interoperability is a common goal for electric utilities, equipment vendors, and standardization bodies. Now, the 61850, basically the earlier 61850, it was 61850 that is -8-1, and the presently it is 61850-9-2. In fact, the light version is also available in the market, but this 61850-8-1 and 61850-9-2, specifically these two standard discuss about the various communication protocols, various communication strategies for SCADA system in your substations. Now, these are basically the IEDs, which may be your protection IEDs or control IEDs from different vendors. In case of 61850-8-1, the switchyard equipment, those which are called the process level equipments like your circuit breakers, isolators, CTs, CVTs, step changer, etc. The informations, the status command or the measurement values of all these process level equipments are hardwired or wired through copper cable to these IEDs. So then these IEDs communicate over a station LAN to your gateway or the local HMI or engineering control PC, engineering PC, and then from this station bus, the remote control centers you can communicate with using your substation gateway on the protocol that is 104 or 101. And in the 9-2 standard, basically the changes are these process level are also now changed to optical CT or CVTs, optical CT CVT. Then some merging units or some things are used, and then the sampled values are directly sent from this process level equipment to your IEDs, and everything communicates on this first. This is the process bus, and then the station bus, and all informations are transferred digitally, and this information are transferred in the sampled value format with goes between the IEDs. And I will discuss in details about 9-2 in the coming slides, also in the coming sessions. So first of all, what is substation automation? So why we need to understand substation automation? Because we need to know what we are talking about in order to understand what needs to be standardized. If you know what is the meaning of substation automation, then only you can understand what is 61850 standard. So in a substation, we know that there are some primary equipments like breakers, isolators, CTs, CVTs, then some transformers, generators, also some secondary equipments like protecting equipments. So in a substation, there are some primary equipments like your that I have already said in the last slide, that isolators, breakers, transformers, generators, etc. And this is your SLD or the mimic diagram in which these isolators, these breakers, transformers, and generators are shown in some symbol forms. Now, the primary equipments in the substations need to be controlled, but the control in case of substation is very different as in meaning in terms of the control in the process control system. So the control in case of process control system generally associated with feedback system. In case of feedback system, if you see here, R is any input and C is any output, and this is a comparator where the output is a portion of the output is compared with your input signals, and if there is no mismatch, then no error signals will be generated and no compensations will be required. However, if there is any mismatch, then the corresponding error signals, and then on the basis of those error signals, the decisions are taken to refine your output signals or the input signals so that the input and output matches at all times, and this is called the feedback loop. But in case of substation, there are no such feedback loop, no such matching are to be done. So what we have to do in case of substation automation, basically in substation, the control means, for example, suppose the controlling of breakers, controlling of isolators or switch or tap changers, or also the control of the power flow, which you may have to redirect from suppose bus 1 to bus 2 or from bus 2 to bus 1. So these kinds of controlling are generally available in case of substation, and the standard also discuss only for these things on only for these things. So first of all, suppose in a substation you have to redirect some power flow. Some part of substation may need to be put out of service for maintenance. This is the second type of automation that is required. Then the circuit breaker, disconnector, earthing switches, these open and close operations may be required. Power transformer, tap changers, up or down may be required. So for first example, suppose you have two bus system, and there is a generator which is connected through a transformer and some breakers to a bus bar, and then this bus feeds the power to one feeder, and presently this suppose this is bus 1 and this is bus 2. So both these devices are connected to bus 2 and power is being transferred from the generator to this load or to this feeder from bus 2 only. But now suppose we want to change this power flow from bus 2 to bus 1, then what we have to do, first of all, we have to close this breaker and isolators for charging of this bus, and then we have to shift these feeders. So in the first step, what you have to do is close this isolator, then close the second isolator, then close the circuit breaker, so that this bus is also energized. When this bus is energized, the isolator from this point to this point will be energized. Then this isolator is also energized from this point to this point. Now, if you see here, Once you close this isolator and this second isolator, so now the power flow will be from both the buses, bus 1 as well as from bus 2. And if you see here, what you can do now, you can just open this disconnector 1 and disconnector 2, and then this power will come from the generator to bus 1 and then it will be transferred to this feeder. And now you can also open this breaker and these two isolators, so that the complete system is now transferred from bus 2 to bus 1. So this is the one of the cases, one of the control that may be required in your substation. Now the bus bar 1 is in service. Now this changing or this maneuvering of primary equipment is a delicate task. So any person or any equipment may get damaged in case of the error in operation. So any operator who is operating these breaker or isolators, they must be aware that what is to be opened and what is to be closed. Also, which part of the system is energized and which part is not energized. To optimize this possibility to operate on wrong equipments with the wrong conditions, interlockings are implemented in the substation. So the second types of control in case of substation is your basically controlling of breakers, isolators, and then this implementation of interlocks. So again, one very simple example. Here I am using the example. Suppose this is your isolators and you want to operate this isolator. The operate means you want to either open or close this isolator. And what is there is, if you want to open or close this isolator, the only thing is that this earth switch must be in the open condition. So only if your earth switch or this earth link is in open condition, then only you can operate this isolator or disconnector. So now to implement this, what you use it, we use an auxiliary contacts or an auxiliary relays, and basically this is an NC contact, and I will discuss in the coming days about how to read in the electrical scheme drawing. Then I will discuss what is the meaning of NC contact and NO contact. Basically all the electrical scheme drawings are prepared on the de-energized conditions. So here this NC contact means if your earth switch is in open condition, then this contact will remain in the closed position. If your earth switch closes, then this contact opens. So this is your NC contact. And if you see here, since this earth switch is presently, suppose this is in the closed condition, then this position will be like this. If this earth switch is in open condition, then this contact will be in this way. So now this is, suppose you are giving a close command to your isolator. So this close command will come here, then this will go to the earth switch. It will see that earth switch is in open condition. So this is NC, it will return back the DC, and then finally this will go to your closing coil. When this closing coil energizes, it will go to your isolator, and then the isolator will close. So this is basically the meaning of interlock. If you see here, presently this earth switch is in closed condition. So once this earth switch is in closed condition, so this NC contact opens. So that's why this is in open position. So now even if you are giving the command to this isolator closing coil, so once this is DC is extended, but this DC cannot extend to this part because in between here is an open contact. So now DC cannot come to this point, closed coil cannot energize, so isolator will not close. Why isolator will not close? Because your earth switch is in the closed condition. Now suppose earth switch is in the open condition. So once the earth switch is in open condition, now what happens? This contact is in the NC condition. So now if you give the close command, DC will come to this point, it will go here. Now this is in the closed position, so this will come, and now for all three phases finally it will energize the closed coil and this isolator will close. So this is the basic interlocking. Interlocking are very simple in principle, but if you extend it to the entire substation, then it will become very complex, because since presently it is having only one earth switch and one isolator, so your wiring is very simple. But suppose there are 5 or 10 number of earth switch and 5 and 10 numbers of isolators, and you have to implement this interlock for entire system. Suppose for the interlock of the bus earth switch. So in that case, you have to transfer the information from all the individual feeders or all the individual bay to the other bay in which you are planning or in which you are implementing the interlock. So this is one of the case in which there are two bus bar and now the local informations will be available to you through these isolators breakers of the local base. But in case you want to control some isolators or earth switch of, suppose this earth switch of this bus bar, so you need the information of the remote feeders or the other base feeders also. So what we need is, we need the information of the this bay, this bay, this bay, and this is called remote bay information. So this is the remote information from different bays. So once you are implementing this remote bay information into the local bay, now this will become very complex. I am not going to discuss about this scheme. I will discuss it into the coming sessions when we will discuss about the electrical scheme drawing understanding. So now once you implement this type of interlocking, so if you see here, the system is getting very complex. The number of copper wires are very huge, and this large number of copper wires create the problems during the operation and maintenance stages. Your operation maintenance cost increases, as well as the time for any failure analysis or for your diagnosis will take more and more times. So information is exchanged with extensive cables, that is extensive cable, and often requires the use of several auxiliary relays to multiply the limited amount of contacts available from the primary equipments. So this is one of the picture in which you can see the amount of copper cables used, and now the root cause analysis or the analysis for any maloperations becomes very tedious. So in case of 61850 standard, the interlocking system, how you can implement, you are having some IEDs. These are, IED means intelligent electronic devices, which may be your BCU, which may be your relay, online DGA devices, or online drying out system, anything. So these are your or your standalone DRs. So these are intelligent electronic devices. Now in these intelligent electronic devices, or in these IEDs, you will be having the informations of individual breakers, isolators of each base into the individual IEDs of that particular bay, and you can transfer this information of one IED to the second IED through this Ethernet communication channel, and this is defined in case of 61850 standard. So this is basically this bay level equipments. Basically in 61850, below this bay level equipments, which is not under the 61850, the equipments below this bay level are called your process level equipment. So this is process level, and in case of process level, your equipments may be CB, isolators, CT, CVT, tap changers, etc. So these process level equipment, these are hardwired through copper cables to your individual bay IEDs. Those IEDs may be control IED or protection IEDs. These IEDs are placed inside your kiosk or inside your cubicles, and this is called bay level equipment. So in this, your bay level equipments which are inside the kiosk or SPR or cubicles, so these bay level equipments are then connected to the station level equipments through network switches, and this is your network switch. All the IEDs are connected over here through this through LAN cables or optical cables, and then this network switch from here to this station computer, there will be another networking. So this is basically process level, followed by bay level, then station level, and finally in the end you will be having remote or network control level. So in case of interlocking, what you requires are your requirement are basically the CB and disconnectors position. So disconnector means isolated positions, and one more thing is reservation, and I will explain what is the meaning of reservation in the coming slides. These information, CB, disconnectors, positions, etc., are sent through the station bus. This is called a station bus. Information are transferred through this station bus, and this is called horizontal communication. Basically, suppose you want to devise an interlock in this IED, and you need the information from this and this IED. So now you doesn't have to hardwire between these two IED. But what you can do, you can directly take the information of this IED through this station bus, also for the information from this IED through this station bus, and you can implement an interlock in this IED. Now the information is being transferred from one IED to the second IED, and IEDs are placed at the same level. So this is the information is transferred from one ID to second ID to third ID, or from third ID to first ID, and all IDs are at the same level. So these informations are transferred at the horizontal communication level, horizontal communication, and these information transmission between the ID to ID are called gauge. So here, up to this point, I have discussed what is the meaning of control in case of substitution, what are interlocking, and then what is horizontal communications. So now there are, in the substation there are some primary equipments, and to protect those primary equipment there are some secondary equipments. In the initial slides I have already discussed what is the meaning of primary equipments. So your primary equipment must be protected, because if you doesn't protect your primary equipment, then it may fail eventually over a period of time, and once it fails there will be widespread outages across the power system. So to protect these primary equipments we use protective relays, and I'm not going to explain in detail about these fundamental concepts of protection relays, because in the initial lectures on distance protection, differential protections, etc., I have already explained the concepts of protective relays. So in this session I am going to discuss in very brief how these protective relays are going to isolate the faults in case of your substation. So the protective relays, there will be the information from current transformer and voltage transformer. Based upon these input, the relay may implement any algorithm, that is, it may implement overcurrent, under voltage, or under impedance. Now, after the relay detects any fault based upon its algorithm, it will make one contact high, or it will make one active contact. Once this contact makes, it will extend the DC to the tripping coil, and once the tripping coil energizes, it will open the circuit breaker, and once the circuit breaker opens, your fault will be isolated. So the secondary equipments, they monitor the electrical quantities of the protected system, and based upon those quantity, it will take the decision. So now suppose there is a fault at this point. Once there is a fault, the current will increase, voltage might drop. Based upon that, it will take a trip decision, it will make this contact, then this contact will energize the tripping coil, and once the tripping coil energizes, it will opens your circuit breaker. So once circuit breaker opens, so there will be no current now, protective relay resets. So and the circuit breaker remains open and fault has been cleared. Circuit breaker now has to closed either manually, or it can be closed through auto reclosure principle, which I have already explained in some of the other sessions. So the circuit breaker opens and interrupts the fault current. Relay sees no fault condition anymore and it resets. Circuit breaker remains open and the fault has been cleared. So another thing, in case of protection system, sometimes protection relay needs to talk together. And this also I have discussed in one of the theoretical sessions, wherein I have discussed what is the importance of your relay communication through permissive underreaching transfer tripping, PUTT, POTT, blocking schemes, acceleration schemes. So I have discussed in details. Basically, the communication between the protective relays are done to speed up the fault clearing time, or to achieve a better knowledge on where the fault is positioned. So communication basically helps in selectivity. So now suppose again I am going to give you a simple example. Through this simple example, we will understand what is the importance of communication in case of protection system. So consider a very simple radial system. We are having two outgoing feeders, and suppose these outgoing feeders are protected through overcurrent relay with a time of operation of 200 milliseconds for each feeder. The upstream feeder is also protected through the overcurrent relay, but with the time of operation which is 600 milliseconds due to the coordination time interval between the downstream and the upstream feeder. So suppose this operating time is 600 milliseconds. Now suppose there is a fault at this particular point. So once there is a fault at this point, this relay will also see the fault current and this relay will see the fault current. So this relay will see the fault current, this relay will also see the fault current. Once this relay sees the fault current, and if this fault current is beyond this power current relay setting, then it will issue a trip command after 200 milliseconds, and this breaker will open, and finally the fault will be isolated. Once this breaker opens, so fault will be isolated, this relay also resets. But suppose that this relay doesn't detect the fault. So once this relay doesn't detect the fault, what happens? That now this relay will, since it detects the fault, So it will operate, but it will take a time of 600 milliseconds. So after 600 milliseconds, this upstream feeder will trip and your power flow on both these feeders will be disturbed. So this you already know from the basic concept that whenever there is a protection maloperation and whenever your upstream feeder trips, then the outages will be more in case of radial feeders. So now suppose there is a fault at this point. So in case the fault is at this point, so now this feeder will trip after 600 milliseconds. But thing is that in case of your fault at this point, the time of operation of this feeder is very high. The time of operation is 600 milliseconds. So the fault in your system, power system, will persist for 600 milliseconds. And this slow clearance of fault creates many problems in case of power system. So what we can do, we can implement some communication between these relays and we can reduce this time of operation from 600 to suppose 200 or 300 milliseconds. So now if you see here, this time of operation is 200 milliseconds and we are using a communication between relay 1 or relay of feeder 1 to and relay of feeder 2 to this upstream feeder. So now whenever this relay sees a fault, it will send a blocking signal to this relay. Any one of these relay, if the relay of feeder 1 or relay of feeder 2 will see the fault, it will see a blocking signal to this relay and this relay will not operate. But if this relay doesn't receive any blocking signals and if its over current protection has started, so then in that case it will issue a trip command after 200 milliseconds. So now this is the example. Suppose there is a fault at this point of time at this feeder 1. So now this there is a fault, so this relay will pick up. This relay will also pick up. But since this relay picks up, it will send a blocking signal to this relay. So now this relay will not trip and this relay will trip after a time of 200 milliseconds. In the second case, suppose there is a fault at this point again, but this relay doesn't detect the fault. But this relay has detected the fault. So now this relay doesn't detect the fault, so it cannot send a blocking signal. Now since this relay has already seen the fault, it is not getting any blocking signal from this feeder or from this feeder, so it will issue a trip command after 200 milliseconds only. So now there is a advantage of 400 milliseconds as compared to your previous case wherein no communication was there between these relays. So now if there is a fault at this point, so this fault is not seen by this relay on this relay, so this relay cannot send a blocking signal, and since this relay sees the fault, so it will issue a trip command after expiry of 200 milliseconds. So these things we can implement in our substation, and these are explained in details in 61850 standard through goosing, through the vertical communications, and I am going to discuss about the goose in our coming sessions. I will stop at this point only, and basically in these sessions we have in this session basically we have discussed about the fundamental concepts of what is a substation, what are the things that need to be controlled in a substation, what are the primary and secondary equipments, what types of controlling are required, what types of interlocking are required. Those things we have discussed. In the coming session we will discuss about the goose communication and then the vertical communication. We will discuss in details about the publisher subscriber and also about the client server communication. The concepts which are explained in these sessions are very easy to understand, and I hope whatever I have explained in this session are clear to you. In case you have any doubt, you can always comment in the comment section, so that based upon your comment, based upon the feedback received from your side, I will try to improve upon from our next session onwards. And in case you like this session, in case this video is beneficial to you, then please share this video to your other friends also, so that more and more people becomes aware about these concepts, more and more people can implement these concepts at their organizations, and we can create a better community of learners. So thank you again. We will meet in our next session on some other topics, probably in continuation of this series only. Thank you and bye bye.